Leaders in Action. I'm Robin Termingham of the Olderhood Group, and my guests today are Olderhood CEO Bill Story and HARVEY Deutschendorf, the renowned emotional intelligence expert and author of The Other Kind of Smart. Today we're chatting about exactly what is emotional intelligence. Welcome, gentlemen.
Well, thank you, Robin. I'm looking forward to being on the show.
Yeah, well, I'm so glad that you could find some time to chat with us today. And I think we better start right at the very beginning here, HARVEY. What is emotional intelligence?
The most common answer to that is it's our ability to recognize, to differentiate, and to manage our emotions and the emotions of others. And I also like to say it's the way we show up. It's the way we show up to others. It's the way we show up to ourselves. The way we manage our emotions, our emotions can be our best friends or our worst enemies, just depending on what we do with them, how we show up with them. And yeah.
I have to ask, this is, a very interesting field. What got you started in all of this?
Well, yeah. It's a long answer. I could take the next half an hour with that. But basically, what got me started in this was I was looking for ways to change my own life, improve my own life. Basically, my family were refugees after the Second World War. They came over to Canada from Europe. Most of the family stayed behind in Europe. So we had, no support system, nothing. The parents were not well educated, and I, went out into the world basically with no support on my own. I managed to go to university. I got a degree, and I was working as a professional. Life should have been wonderful. I've gone far beyond what anybody in my family, ever went. And so life should have been great, but it wasn't. I wasn't really happy. I wasn't happy in my career, wasn't happy in my relationships. And I was looking for answers for that and read lots of self-help and things like that, but nothing really spoke to me. And then I read a book by Daniel Goleman called Emotional Intelligence, Why It Can Matter More Than IQ. And it was sort of started, the world became aware of emotional intelligence. So I had an aha moment. He said, your intelligence can come to naught when your emotions hold sway. And I realized that's what was holding me back, was my emotions were out of kilter. And so I started reading everything I could. And so I thought, this is really powerful. This emotional intelligence. But everything at the moment was, like Daniel Goleman's book was highly academic, very hard to read. It didn't really offer to lay people what they could do to change their emotions. So I thought somebody should write a book and put this into a way that everybody can understand. So I'm a somebody, might actually publish the book before that. And so I read the book, and then I sort of became totally immersed in this whole area of emotional intelligence. It sort of took over my life. It became my passion.
Is you use the word recognition, and perhaps I would use the word awareness. I'm not sure that they're necessarily the same, but when you talk about recognition, then I presume you're meaning that you must recognize in yourself that your emotions are either up or down, good, bad, whatever it may be, that there must be, I don't want to use the word physical, but there must be something that takes place in your mind to say, I need to check in on my emotions, and how do you do that? And I mean, I guess that would mean the word awareness or recognition. Would that be right?
That's right. It's awareness, Bill, and that's the whole basis of emotional intelligence. That's the root of it is being aware of our own emotions. So unless we're aware of our own emotions, we're not aware of how we show up to others, how we come across to others. So we have to first of all become aware of what our emotions are doing. Are we becoming angry? Where are they at, and how we become just more aware of our emotions. we meditate, we take time during the day just to take deep breaths, and just to say, well, how am I feeling right now? What's going on with me? Just focus on where we're at emotionally. What are these feelings? Where are they coming from? And what can I do with them? How can I manage them?
I guess there's no scalability, is there, in the sense of, sometimes when you read about emotional intelligence, some people would talk about the IQ test, the intelligence quotient, but in terms of emotional intelligence, there's no means of measuring. In other words, do I feel good today, or do I feel really good, or do I feel super good? I mean, would that be the extent of and I don't think those are measurement techniques necessarily, but that there is a level of emotional awareness.
Yeah, not our emotions exactly, but there are assessments out there, and I'm certified to do one of them. But what they do is they will test for things like our own awareness of our emotions. They can test for impulse control. They can test for things like how assertive we are, how optimistic we are, things like that. They can assess all kinds of different areas, and that basically is to do with how we show up with our emotions.
You mentioned finding your own passion, and I found that very interesting, because finding your passion and becoming passionate about something also tends to make you emotional, which can sometimes cause people to fall off the rails a bit, don't you think?
Finding your passion is, I mean, it's a high you can get. It's a very positive thing. It brings up a lot of positive emotions. I mean, when you say going off the rails, it's probably getting carried away with your emotions, letting them carry you away. And when your emotions get carried away, they can overwhelm your thoughts. So the idea with emotions is to work together in combination with your cognitive, with your IQ, to make better decisions, to use the emotions instead of, because our emotions can overpower us. And I have done actually a TEDx talk about how that happens. The worst case that can happen is road rage. Yeah. When our emotions totally overpower us, and we don't give ourselves a chance to think. And because the interesting thing is that we feel before we think. We feel before we think. What happens is, if we put a pencil, stick a pencil both sides of our ears in the middle there, there's a what's called the brain stem. That's our old brain, and we've had that since the time we lived in caves. That's also the emotional brain, and there's a little almond-shaped part in there called the amygdala. When a message comes in, it goes straight to the amygdala. Okay, so we feel right away. It takes us about 6 seconds or so for that message to reach the front part of our neocortex, the frontal lobe, our thinking brain. So we could get caught up in, totally reacting from our emotions, and without even thinking about what we're doing.
Yeah.
And that's what happens in road rage. That the message has not gone to the thinking cognitive brain. So when you hear, what were they thinking? They weren't. That message they were still reacting entirely from their emotions, because if that message reaches our cognitive brain, we're going to respond. We're going to be able to use our thinking, our powerful brain, and not make really, really bad decisions.
Yeah, an awful lot can happen in those 6 seconds, can't it?
Yes, yes.
Unfortunately, we're just about out of time. Join us again for part 2 of this very interesting discussion on emotional intelligence.